That audio is taken from the Netflix documentary The Clubhouse, which is available in its totality now, if you want to watch it, the whole thing, including the episode detailing Jarren Duran's mental health struggles. Before we play the next part of that, where he really details when he bottomed out, Ted, as somebody who has dealt with, as you mentioned, these different things.
Yeah, those feelings.
Isolation.
Depression, anxiety.
But also identity, right? Isn't identity part of it?
It's what I said in my 3-point. It's so many of us men in general, just not just athletes, there's an expression called performance-based esteem. A lot of us men get our esteem through our work and what we do for work, in our performance in work, right?
And it can be very sickening if you fall down that hole too often, Ted.
Yeah, it can. So, and athletes are no different than the rest of the men out there that are trying to find an identity through their profession more times than not. And so, if people see you've been playing baseball your whole life. That's how people have related to you as a baseball player, not as a person, but as a baseball player. Okay. And then you get to the big leagues, you get your chance, and you're not very good at being a baseball player. Can you imagine what that does to the inner self? You feel you don't feel worthy. You feel worthless. You have feelings, and the sad part is it went pretty quickly for Jarren to go from there's feelings of helplessness when these feelings start to come into you. You're like, man, and you've never had these feelings before. When it goes from helplessness to hopelessness, it's when it transitions to that, where it did later in my years of addiction, when all of a sudden you start thinking about doing things to yourself you never, ever, ever, ever thought you would do. But that's why, is because we put so much of our self-esteem into what it is we do as a job and not just the person. And so that's how athletes think. And so when the athlete isn't playing well, they think they're not a good person. Theoretically, that's what it means. And so that's part of it.
And certainly Duran felt hopeless, and he explained to what extent.
I got to the point where I was sitting in my room. I had my my rifle, and I had a bullet, and I pulled the trigger, and the gun clicked, but nothing happened. So to this day, I think God just didn't let me take my own life, because I seriously don't know why it didn't go off. But I took it as a sign of all right, I might have to be here for a reason. So then that's when I started to look myself in the mirror after the gun didn't go off. I was like, all right, well, I was like, do I want to be here or do I not want to be here? I looked myself in the mirror and I was like, that happened for a reason. Obviously you're here for a reason. So let's be the way you want to be. Let's play the way you want to play, and let's, just live the way I want to live.
That was Jarren Duran in the clip we first heard yesterday, and as I said, is now available in its totality in the Netflix documentary. Jarren Duran issued a statement today. We had first heard he might take questions from reporters, but then he decided to issue a statement.
Yeah, that's probably better.
Yeah, so I'm going to read you that now. Talking about this wasn't easy, but it felt important. I trusted the Netflix crew, and I knew that if I was going to share this, I had to be real about it. A few years ago, I found myself in a dark place, but I'm still here, and I'm so lucky I am. And if my story can help even one person, then it was worth telling. It's that ability to help, to reach those who feel alone, that motivated me to tell my story. Right now, my focus is on the field. We have a postseason to chase, and that's where my head is. I've shared what I needed to share, and I appreciate everyone's understanding that my focus right now is on baseball and helping my team win a World Series. I am grateful for the tremendous support I've received. If you're struggling, please know there's help. You can call a friend, a trusted person, your doctor, or an organization like Samaritans. And if you're in immediate danger, call 988. So that was Jarren Duran's statement today. Fitzy, as you noted, there was an uptick in calls to Samaritans yesterday. So this is a platform he has where I agree with him. If he touches one person, it was worth it.
Absolutely.
But his platform allows him to touch much more than one person. Could be endless numbers of people that he's impacting right now.
Yes, and here's the thing: when guys keep their issues to themselves, it doesn't help anybody. When guys are willing to be vulnerable and say what it is they're dealing with, it gives permission to somebody else to do the same thing. So many of my former teammates suffer in silence. So many athletes that are dealing with most guys have problems post career. It's unique. Maybe it's not unique. Maybe it's more out there than maybe I realize. But usually it's the guys that leave the game that are struggling with. But even guys while they're playing struggle clearly. And so for him to come out and say that, it gives permission for someone else to do the same thing. You know what? Jarren Duran did it, and look, he was an all-star last year. He's turned his life around. It is almost like when you put it out there, it's like the weight's been lifted. It's kind of like you guys all know my deepest, dark secrets, and you still accept me. And, you guys, it's almost as if you look at me differently. You don't look at me as a football player anymore. Now you look like I'm a human being. And so now it's no surprise that when he started getting help, or maybe when he told somebody that he started playing baseball better, huh, Fitzy?
Yeah, I can only imagine the burden that was lifted in telling the story at first, and now I won't say satisfaction that he's feeling now, but at least like what sort of fulfillment he's feeling in knowing that people are already reaching out. People are seeking the help that they need. People are doing what they need to do if they're in a crisis like that. And for a guy like Duran, also, Ted, think about this. You're a professional baseball player. You've made it to the pinnacle of your sport, what millions and millions of little boys and girls dream of doing their whole lives. He's got that. He's a handsome guy, well-spoken. Like he would seem to be the epitome of the poster child for he's someone who has everything going for him, and yet he also didn't feel like he had anything going for him, and his life wasn't worth living anymore. So, I've said, I'll say it again, and I'll maintain it until otherwise notified. He is the most important player on the field and also off the field for these Boston Red Sox.
I also think it's interesting that, from my perspective, and if I'm sort of looking at the timeline correctly, he was the All-Star Game MVP. He was a star last year when the cameras were following him. So whenever this interview took place, I'm assuming he was out of some of his darkest days.
Oh, yeah.
And yet he still chose to bring this to light. And so he didn't take the easy way out would have just been, I'm badass Jarren Duran. I'm a baseball player.
That's right.
I never had problems. I'll just pretend that never happened. But he chose to, in the heights of his success, tell you about his low points. That's what I actually think is interesting, because in this day and age, somebody's going to mock him. Somebody's going to go after him on social media, say something in a crowd,
to me.
right? Like it's going to happen.
Yep.
And he chose to bring that upon himself in a way, right?
Yeah, and you know what? And I think my guess is, I don't want to speak for him, but my guess is, and it's a reason I do it, and my guess is that Jarren feels similarly, is all those awful nights, those depressed nights, the feelings of loneliness, I acted out. I don't know, I don't know if Jarren, how he medicated his feelings. I medicated my feelings with drugs. And it was awful. And so, the way you maybe you justify those horrible nights is that you wanted those days and those awful days to not be in vain. And so if you tell your story and you help somebody, then it makes all those lonely times and all those awful nights where you were doing things you shouldn't have been doing, it makes it more worth it. And you can just go, you know what? It wasn't all just a waste of time. I actually did something with it and helped someone by sharing my story. So my feeling is that is part of his rationale or impetus for telling his story.